Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and I think we actually got some great news to end the week with. We got another update for the Nintendo Switch successor that further narrows down its release date and also its price, or kind of. So we're going to talk about that, and then also Black Myth Wukong. I know a lot of people have been really excited about this game. It looks very, very good, and the great news here is that it seemingly has delivered on a great and also beautiful gameplay experience. However, there does seem to be some concern brewing within the PlayStation community about this game, and we'll talk about whether or not that is actually merited. Let's just go and get right into things, though, starting off with a big story from Xbox. They actually just announced some release dates for a few of their upcoming mobile games. This includes The Elder Scrolls Castles, which is being built as a spiritual successor to Fallout Shelter. I know a lot of people really enjoyed that game, and they're taking that experience and they're going to apply it to the Elder Scrolls series. It actually looks fairly decent for what it is, and it's now officially set for a September 10th release. So that's just right around the corner. And then 1 month later, Age of Empires Mobile will also release on October 17th. Now, from what I've seen, Age of Empires Mobile really seems to follow the core experience that we're used to getting, and I'd say as long as their execution is good, this could be a big-time release for them. I think sometimes people forget just how big the Age of Empires series is. It might not necessarily be as big over on console, but over on PC, it is very, very popular, and we'll see if they can grab any of that mobile market with this IP. That is a part of this story, though, because what's happening here is that Xbox is seemingly ramping up their mobile offering because they do have a mobile store planned. And games like these, plus Call of Duty, they also have Diablo Immortal, these will be standout games for them to attract consumers to that storefront. I mean, it's hard to say if they'll actually find success. Microsoft hasn't always had a lot of success when it comes to their storefronts, but at the very least here, they do have the brand power and really just the experience in gaming where they can also partner up with a lot of AAA publishers. They could partner up with Epic Games, Ubisoft, and Sega, among many more, to push their storefront forward. So at the bare minimum, this will likely be the best attempt to give the mobile market a shake-up with a new storefront from a AAA game company, and that could actually bring over new ideas to mobile gaming. I mean, we know these companies want to push cloud gaming as one such example, and that could be implemented in a major way to their storefront. So it is something to maybe keep an eye on, but for the time being, it definitely seems like they are ramping up their mobile offering. Now, we also got an update for the long-awaited Star Wars Eclipse. This is a game that Quantic Dreams teased years ago, and a lot of people were initially very excited about this game. It does seem very ambitious, and the teaser trailer, it does look pretty good. It's supposedly some kind of action-adventure game that can be experienced in a number of different ways because, much like other Quantic Dreams games, it has a branching story. So I'd say with all of that, this is probably one of the more interesting Star Wars games on paper. But that's the thing, because we really haven't seen it for a while. So what exactly is happening with Star Wars Eclipse? Well, according to a new report, after rumors of a troubled development cycle, its lead writer has now left Quantic Dreams to start his own studio. Now, this alone doesn't necessarily mean that Star Wars Eclipse is in fact in trouble. Technically, this person could have already been finished up with a lot of the writing, but it's definitely not a good look. And according to what we've already heard, this game is not anywhere close to release. The belief is that it won't be out until 2027 at the earliest. So if you are wondering where this game has been, yeah, you might want to go ahead and just sit tight. Okay, so let's go and talk about Nintendo and the Switch successor. I know everybody's just kind of losing their patience with this thing. We all want the official reveal by this point, and I'm with you all 100%. My body is ready for that Switch successor. But at the same time, I still think people need to remain patient. I've seen all the speculation and all of the rumors that's being peddled online that this thing is going to be revealed sometime in September. And hey, if it is, that's fantastic. I would love for that to be the case. But in my eyes, I'm expecting it to be an early 2025 reveal. And the latest information only convinces me more that's what Nintendo plans to do. Now, maybe I'm wrong here, and in this case, I would actually like to be wrong. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, let's just go and take a look at the latest information that's circulating. So this is coming from a Japanese analyst over at Toyo Securities, and from my understanding, this person is well respected as well. So, you can kind of take this as you will. It doesn't guarantee that he is right or wrong, but the idea here is that maybe he has some sources, and that's why he's making the prediction that he is making. So I thought at the very least we should talk about this, and then you can kind of come up with your own conclusion. Thanks to Takashi Mochizuki, though, we can see what was said here. He posted, Toyo Securities analyst Hideki Yasuda says Nintendo's next generation would come first half next year. GamesIndustry.biz previously said it wouldn't come this fiscal year. That means the launch would be sometime between April and June of 2025. So, if this is true, we can now narrow down the release date to just a 3-month period in 2025. And this does seem relatively realistic. Nintendo released the Nintendo Switch back in March of 2017, and I'd say that worked out pretty well for them. But the thing that keeps crossing my mind is Nintendo's upcoming games. I know some people fear that the Switch 2 won't release until 2025, and I'm with you all on that one. Please do not make us wait that long, Nintendo. But from a business standpoint, I really just don't see how Nintendo could further sustain the Switch for another year by itself. I think they've done a fairly good job during what we consider a swan song year. We're still getting games like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Mario & Luigi Brotherhood is planned this holiday, there's a new Mario Party, and we've gotten various remakes throughout the year. But could they really repeat that strategy in 2025? I would like to think that Nintendo has planned better than that. And in fact, by all indication, or at least according to the rumors that we've heard prior, Nintendo's original plan was to release the Switch successor in late 2024 until they delayed it internally because they were waiting for some bigger games to pair with its launch. And I find it hard to believe that that delay would be for an entire year. That would be a catastrophic shift to Nintendo's internal plans. So I do think a first half 2025 release makes sense, and that's all the more reason that I believe a full reveal won't happen until early 2025. Again, I understand that fans are losing their patience. I get it. I really do. We all want to see this thing in September. I would love for that to happen. But I think Nintendo wants the Switch to have one last holiday all to itself without its successor looming over the general public. So my expectation is an early 2025 reveal, but if you feel differently, let me know in the comments below and tell me why you feel the way that you feel. Now, one other thing that this analyst mentioned, though, is that the Switch successor will be priced under $500. And I find this to be such a weird statement, because this is really just Captain Obvious to me. Of course, it's going to be under $500. I can't imagine that many people are even worried that it'll be higher than that. I feel like for Nintendo, $400 will be their sweet spot. I feel like Nintendo needs to keep their consoles cheaper than Xbox and PlayStation's flagship consoles, just because they're not going to boast the same raw power that they do. And also, if they go much higher than $400, then you really start to get into the territory of where PC handhelds are in price. So I'm going to go ahead and say $400 to be at least a little bit more risky than this person. But either way, I do hope that he's correct, that it will release in the first half of 2025. Moving on here, though, one of 2024's most anticipated games is set to release next week on August 20th. Black Myth Wukong will launch for the PlayStation 5 and for PC. Now, unfortunately, the Xbox version was delayed. Hopefully, they'll have some news for that sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, I'm happy to say that reviews are going very well for Wukong. It currently has an 82 overall score on Metacritic, with 47 positive reviews and just 8 mixed. In fact, a lot of people are saying that this game should have a higher score if it weren't for a few reviews that are kind of dragging it down for their own personal agendas. You can take that as you will. But from what I've seen, the one thing that really seems to have surprised critics the most is that despite some of the similarities, Wukong is in fact not a Souls-like game. It apparently plays much more similar to traditional action games like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, but it's also still a very challenging experience. Now, I personally enjoy a challenge, so that's great news for me, but it definitely seems like Wukong is not the type of game that a lot of people were expecting. Even still, though, there is one concern that seems to be brewing online, and that's because the studio didn't send out a single PlayStation 5 version to critics to review. So reviews as of this moment are exclusively for PC alone, and that has some fans concerned that maybe they're hiding performance problems for the PlayStation 5 version, and even more so because the Xbox version was also delayed for optimization reasons. So there is a curiosity in how the console versions compare to PC, and I think that's a fair thing for fans to wonder about. You know, we should be informed before we make a purchase, and they haven't really done a thorough job in that aspect. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and say that if you are concerned, I just go ahead and recommend waiting until we hear about PlayStation 5 impressions next week. I mean, hopefully it'll run fine, because other than that one single mystery, it sounds like a pretty fantastic game. Now, one last thing before we go, Nintendo quietly has a game planned for later this month. Famicom Detective Club Emio the Smiling Man is set for an August 30th release. The thing about this game, though, is that I know a lot of people were disappointed that it ended up being a visual novel. You know, the original teaser kind of seemed like Nintendo was going to dip their toes into a true horror experience, and that would have been very exciting. But what I can say is that I've been playing the first two Famicom games these past few weeks, and they actually do have some really interesting stories. Now, they have some other issues. Maybe I'll review them or something. But if you're on the fence about the new game, the good news here is that Nintendo is preparing a free demo that will update over time. You'll get the prologue in Chapter 1 on August 19th, then Chapter 2 on August 22nd, and finally, Chapter 3 will be available on August 27th. Of course, your experience will also translate over to the full game if you decide to purchase it. So I think this is a great way to get people to try Famicom Detective Club, and I definitely recommend at least giving it a try. It might not be what you expect from Nintendo, but if you're interested in a good story, then maybe give it a try. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, subscribe, and peace out.